Alright guys, this isn't going to be the world's most formal speech because I've managed to bribe Sitka here to make an appearance. I don't really know how long we've got before she decides that I'm boring and goes away. But anyway, welcome to our first Imperial invasion. It's going to be a weird one. It's also going to be a victory lap for us. The kind of win that we've had recently in EVE doesn't come along very often in online gaming. We destroyed a coalition of 50,000 people who've been trying to kill us for years. They told everybody that they existed to destroy us, and then they said that they didn't actually mean that, and then we conquered Delve again, and they gave up. So here we are. Fozzie is coming in June. We've conquered Delve. We're moving our forces back home. And we're going to take a little victory lap. Not only are we going to have some hijinks in EVE to celebrate the win, we're going to be launching an invasion into an entirely new game for the first time ever. So let's go ahead and talk about how all of this works. First, the EVE stuff. Think of it as like a sacrificial lamb, sacrifice of the whelp gods, really. We're going to make a Revenant, which is, as you know, one of the rarest ships in EVE, and instead of doing something sensible with it, like listening to my adorable puppy crunch her bone. Well, I suppose as speech distractions goes, they're worse ones. Anyway, we're gonna basically take this incredibly expensive space poop, the Revenant, which a lot of people want very badly, and instead of doing anything sensible with it, we're gonna destroy the damn thing for ourselves. We're just gonna bring it out into the middle of our capital, let everybody come in there and destroy it, and it'll be a good time for all. So that's one massive senseless waste of money, and our finance team is already very unhappy with us for doing this. So, let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to be doing in H1Z1 and why. We have a lot of plans to torch this game over this next month. We chose H1Z1 first because it's very similar to EVE. It's a full loot PvP game with the same lineage as EVE. They're both games originally descended from Ultima Online. It's a sandbox game, there's crafting. I think that you guys are going to love it. We've already seen our advanced team is having a grand time there and has for the last 48 to 72 hours. I guess the best way to analogize H1Z1 to EVE is that it reminds me of EVE in 2005, back when skins were thinner and before the wells of tears had dried up. People react very strongly to things, and they've never encountered an organized force like what we bring to the table in EVE to H1Z1. So I think it's going to be a mess. I mean, I think it's going to be a firestorm. We're going to be attacking it. Nobody has ever done this kind of thing before. They don't expect it, and they're going to regret that they ever met us, essentially. So, let's go ahead and get down into the gory details. Why are we doing this? Right? I mean, that's the biggest question. H1Z1 needs villains. Daybreak is giving us a whole bunch of free shit to give out to every single one of our guys, that being permanent items that'll be bound to your account, always available just to provide an organized opposing force, and to teach these people in the sandbox game how to actually sandbox. They're running around in groups of 2 to 5. They don't really group up like we do, and they have none of our methods of organization that they use to accomplish any objectives. Because H1Z1 is not going to be our first target. The idea here is this. Most people in the games industry do not believe that a guild or an organization or a coalition exists as large as ours or can move between games. So once we do this, it's going to be amazing to see what we can pull off. Our battle plan is simple. We're going to establish a beachhead on the Antidote server, while simultaneously our teams are going to be locking down the Battle Royale servers. Once we've established our presence on Antidote, then we're going to be using Jabber to send pings to everyone to launch waves of our people into other target servers. We'll be spawning, kind of like newbies and rifters taking over the galaxy back in the day in EVE, except that this time we'll be naked dudes in our underwear in a forest with makeshift bows and hatchets and kill everybody there. So it's basically the same thing. Either way, it's going to be a blast, and there's going to be an immense amount of screaming and tears that comes from it. So that's the short-term version of our plan. We're going to be pushing really hard this weekend to make as much of an impact as possible, get the lay of the land, and then find the deepest wells of tears we can find. To outfit our army, we've got a whole bunch of free shit to give away to everyone who participates in this attack. If you redeem the free promo code that's from the link we're going to give you in a moment, you'll get a custom machete to hack our enemies to death with. You'll also get a custom uniform, which has an armband in black and red so we can identify each other, and a custom tactical helmet. So these items are unique to us and our community. They're permanent to your character and to your account. Once you have this code redeemed, it's yours forever. My dog is very excited about the idea of getting these codes, and you probably should be too. One of the things I'm worried about here is when we do send the links out to them, I think our enemies might try to spam the links around to try to run our supply out. So basically, when we send the link to get the free shit, grab it as fast as you can, because God only knows what's going to happen once this gets out on the internet. Speaking of that, we have a lot of recruitment opportunities in this. One of the things that we want to do here is kill people in H1Z1, get a bunch of free shit, and then setting the precedent for doing that in other games. Okay, with me so far? Once we do that, we also want to be like Viking Raiders, basically. We want to find the best people in these other games that are sandbox PvP games, kind of like EVE, and incorporate them into our organization. Many of you have been wondering why the hell we're doing this and it's got nothing to do with EVE. Well, the answer is that with FozzieSov coming, the density of our space in the Northwest needs to triple. We're not going to be able to convince a bunch of high-sec mission runners to come out to nullsec and live with us. Because if they were going to do that, they would have done it already. H1Z1 has 1.1 million players. It's an untapped market of people who like sandbox PvP. They're not as good at it as we are, but they're basically the exact kind of talent and new blood that we need to sustain this coalition between now and FozzieSov. This is particularly the case for a lot of our allied alliances. Goonswarm is pretty packed right now, but everybody else needs to pretty much triple their size to be able to handle the occupation Sov come June 9th. So there's wheels within wheels, as usual, whenever we do something like this. And this is not the first time we're going to do this. This is the first time we're hitting a game, but H1Z1 is not going to be the only time that we put on our Viking helmets and go trying to pillage and raid around and, see what happens. So that's the recruitment stuff, and one of the reasons why we're doing this, not just to get free shit in games, but also to find new blood, new talent, and increase our brain trust. To make that easier, we're launching a Mumble server on TMC that's easy to log in and log off of, such that anyone can join with just a press of a button from our H1Z1 landing page. We want to keep our Imperium comms separate from this operation to protect the security of our EVE ops, and also if you try to explain to somebody who's never logged onto an Imperium server how to do it and all the hoops you have to jump through, it's just not going to happen. We're even fine with our enemies coming on and trying to use our services to try to kill us. That's fine. It'll give us more opposition. If our enemies follow us from EVE, it'll give us something more entertaining than just cutting through these H1Z1 people. So, speaking of cutting through the H1Z1 video, the H1Z1 people, I have a video to show you. And this is apparently the CEO of Daybreak's idea of what Smack Talk is. I think it's adorable. Apparently my puppy does not necessarily think it's adorable. She's going to wander off, but I'll go ahead and show you the video now. And once up, she's back. That's a miracle. She says, "Harf." It's very exciting. So we're going to go ahead and play that clip of Smed's dog, who is, well, small and cute, I guess. Well, wasn't that precious? I guess they think they can stop us, or they really have no idea what exists out here in Eve. And that actually dovetails nicely into my next point, which is this is something that's never been done before. And it's going to come as a complete surprise to everyone. And the reason is that everyone writes off Eve. Everybody writes off what we do as this weird spaceship game. There's Iceland. It doesn't count. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Other games have organizations that are tiny compared to Eve. Eve is like a crucible that has built the Imperium in the fires of war over the last decade. There's nothing like that anywhere in any other game. I'm going to go one step further and say that Eve is so harsh that I think that even the humblest and safest, most novice player of Eve endures hardships that other gamers would go fetal in the corner crying in terror if they had to deal with. Just what we call days that end in Y in Eve are nightmares for everybody else. But right now that's trapped in Eve, and nobody knows, and nobody cares, except when the BBC does an article about something that the Imperium did, like burning Jita or BR5 or what have you. Then they go, oh hey, that's just that weird game. Well, after this, that weird game is going to come to their games and show them what we can do with overwhelming force, burn them down, take whatever we want, run screaming back to the galactic northwest. And if this works, and I'm pretty sure it will, soon other gamers will start watching Eve, wondering, afraid, that what happens when the Eve players get bored again? What happens when they decide to just burn all of our shit down because they can and run away laughing back to the galactic northwest with loot and recruits and bribes and God only knows what else? So this is, of course, an Imperium event. This is our thing. We're doing it. We're doing it to benefit us. We're giving free stuff to our guys. We're doing it such that we can recruit for Fozzysoft to ensure our security. But at the same time, the idea of having an opportunity for Eve players to actually show what they can do to stand up against other games and to finally test to see if all this chest-beating bullshit we tell ourselves about how Eve players are so hard, is that actually true? Does it actually stand up against other games? What happens when you take Eve and you jam it into H1Z1 and just keep pressing until you see who breaks? Well, we're going to try to find out. And, conveniently, all the tiers that are going to come from this are in one convenient place, because they all talk on their H1Z1 subreddit. That's where all the discussion of the H1Z1 players is, that's where all the screams are going to be, that's where all the whining, all the complaints. One place, one nice, beautiful, untapped well for us to go. I'm not going to tell you guys to troll that place, because I'm sure that you're already there. Alright, I will see you guys on the battlefield. I'm going to be leading this personally, and we're going to go right to our Mumble servers. We're going to be cashing in our free shit, and we're going to be burning a game, and it would be fascinating if everyone else will join us, or try to fight us. You can stop us if you want to, or try to. We'll see you there.